Hello and welcome to Warblog. Today I'm going to play this, what I'm calling the Battle of Jijiga, which is part of the Ethiopia-Somali War, Ethiopian-Somali War, 77-78, also known as the Ogaden War, because that was the region that it was fought over. It's quite interesting. I haven't really got my head around it fully because I then picked it up, Oswald's Book of Battles, probably about 4 hours ago, so it's the first I've heard of it, but it seems fairly straightforward. The road missing there, I just noticed, not to worry. Oh look, I fixed it. Okay, so essentially, just to put it into perspective, this is Somalia and this is Ethiopia, and this region around here is Ogaden. I don't know how far it actually goes further south. This is just sort of part of the map that I'm using. I think it's a lot further than Ethiopia, sort of is quite vast. This is just a small part of it. But essentially, the crux to the war, and I haven't really got my head around this to be quite honest, are these little units here. These are the WSLF, which is part of the Western Somalia Liberation Force. What says Western Somali Liberation Front. So they're fighting for an independent state, sort of in this area, and I'm guessing a lot here because I haven't really read through the whole article. It's quite lengthy. It goes into all the history and stuff. But they were, I think, that basically the Somali government decided to put its weight behind their initiative, and they basically they moved into this part of Ethiopia and defeated a couple of Ethiopian divisions. There was quite a hefty battle. Again, I'm a bit vague on exactly how it happened, so if I'm getting it wrong, then you just have to accept that and maybe correct me, but I might get it wrong. But basically, the Soviets who were arming both sides, which is a bit confusing when you're reading it, because they were basically supporting both sides and selling them arms, tried to sort of negotiate a ceasefire between them. And essentially, at the end of the day, they opened up an air bridge with Ethiopia. This is one thing that, from what I have read, sounds like remarkable, really. And they had a fleet of, I assume it's a fleet of 225 transport aircraft, which is quite a lot. And they opened up what they could define as an air bridge, shipping in, a flight every 20 minutes. A flight was landing in Ethiopia every 20 minutes with enough hardware to arm 3 divisions, tanks, artillery, aircraft, and just about everything else, I would imagine. So I don't like sitting here just talking. I always end up talking and then I've never done anything. Now I don't know what the balance is like here, but essentially, so what you've got here is the Somalis have invaded, and they've made this sort of progress across the border. This is more of a wasteland. The roads are what's important here, I think, if you start to look at the road, especially this road here. Now they sort of marched up here, and they pretty much, if you look at the arrows on the ACGI link, whatever it's called, the acig.info link, you'll see that they get as far as Alamea, which is there. And it's sort of the two arrows sort of join there, so I've sort of left it at this stage. And they try to take that out, but they can't. The battle focuses around Harar, which is there. That's where the main battle happens. And they sort of say, well, once they lost that, they became pinchered, but it looks to me like they're pretty much already pinchered. Even if they didn't move out of Harar, they could just go straight down to here. So they fall back to Jijiga, which is there, and to Dibble. And these are two crucial points. I mean, they might not necessarily look at it, look like that on the map, but they needed these for supply, and they pretty much lost these, and so they had to retreat all the way back into Somalia, where they signed a peace treaty, a truce. So that's sort of what happened. Obviously, moving the units around is sort of is the next step. I haven't really sort of considered what I want to do, but the Ethiopians are going first. Now, the sort of the ACIG sites are basically, they just carried out a lot of airstrikes, not only on these units in Harar and probably everywhere else, but also on this Hargeisa, which is where the air operations for Somalia were being based out of. Now, there's no rules in here for affecting air power by attacking a central air base. Obviously, there's anything to stop them just going straight this way and going into Somalia. But so we've got to assume there's a lot of troops in now, don't they? But essentially, the whole battle is to take out Harar. So, well, let me just stop talking and maybe let's see what we can do here. I wonder if it will work on the first turn. Always suffer those first turn blues. Okay, so we've got 2 air defense. Let's just see what happens. That needs to be fixed. 1-to-1 odds. One plane was aborted. But even so, that's a lot of aircraft and not a lot of action. Okay. Okay, well, that's that. Okay, so let's see what now the thing is, do I want to sort of use my artillery now? Or do I want to support it in a battle? Let me come back to that. Now, I've deliberately left things a little weak down here, but there's not a lot of scope for doing anything down here. But I think I've sort of inadvertently made these. That's a massive force down there. There's not much to stop these. You can sort of see what was happening. I mean, the Somalians could move this way and take out these units here, although there's only 3. There's only a battalion, infantry battalion there. I mean, they've got almost an entire brigade here. Or what have they actually got? They've got 2 infantry regiments and some artillery, some air defence. So they seriously outnumber this units here. Although that is the only one. I mean, presumably these were preparing to go south, etc. So, but the Ethiopians really can't do much from this front. I've done that sort of deliberately. I'm really not sure of the accuracy of the balance here, although I do know that the Ethiopians had a lot of mechanized infantry, so I've given them a lot. They had sort of, I don't know, 3-4 brigades worth, I think, so I've tried to give them a representative amount. So essentially, you can see here we've got some Cuban infantry, but we've also got Cuban armour. So there's 2 regiments of armour. That's quite a lot. Let's just move those in straight off. get some outflanks here. Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be overkill, really, but we'll see. We'll see. Well, get into that. We could be really sneaky about this. I don't think I can take that unit out there. I was thinking of getting some of these motorized units to assault the mechanized unit there, but they're actually pretty tough. And that would be a 1 to 2. I think I'm going to move there. So now I've got the flank that I sort of need. I mean, I could possibly move him up there, but I don't really want to start committing these units here because I'm just getting bogged down with all of this and leave this unit, all this open, which goes against the flavour of the game in the sense that these are pretty much here, to create a front line along this axis here. So I will just leave those units there. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those sort of, how can I get my units to be super powerful against this stack here? And it might not be as easy as it sounds. Let's reload that. I appear to be able to get quite a lot in there. Not enough movement to get into there. 2 air defense units there. So that's pretty much everything stacked up. So let's see what this battle actually looks like. Oh, it's certainly busy. I mean, I'm just not really thinking about the odds, so I'm just playing it almost as you feel. And I think, just looking at that, that's got to be. I mean, what sort of odds do you think it is? I'm not asking directly. I don't expect you to answer because it's a recording, but it is late, as it was always late. I just can't even think. It's got to be good odds. I'm gonna guess 2 to 1, and I'm going down now because, well, I don't know. Let's see, 7 to 1. I sort of thought it would be about 7 to 1. Defender eliminated, and so there we have the historical outcome of the capture of Harar, which sort of changes things. Now, again, I haven't really sort of balanced this up as to really whether or not the Somalians have really a representative volume of units that they maybe should have. But essentially, they lost Harar, which they've just done there. And this sort of division is going to sort of follow through here into Jijiga, and force the whole Somalian force to sort of fall back. So it has actually gone according to plan, which I think is interesting. There's only a few seconds left, so the Somalians are not even going to get a turn. So there you go. There's an introduction to another interesting part of history, the Cold War scenario in Africa, proxy wars between the Soviets and the Americans. Americans backed the Ethiopians, but yeah, that's it.